And George, can you take the Facebook and Discord?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, sir.
Spider history.
And can we spend about an hour on both of them? Or on both combined? So we get it at a good pace, JR?
I'm going to try because I got to get up tomorrow and take Spencer. He's taking the ACT tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Got to get up and take him too because he's grounded, so we can't.
Oh, what the?
So,
well, we're on here. I won't to ask you what he did.
What is he wanting to do? Like,
what's his profession?
Your daughter was like a cop now, right?
Probation officer. Yeah, probation officer. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah. And he wants to go into musical theater or music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he wants to go into something music related.
You shouldn't have taken him to see Turn Off the Dark.
Never did. Now that is.
Are you talking about like an actor, or are you talking about like in the production of it, or what?
He wouldn't. I mean. It's kind of hard. He's not that open with me, to be honest.
Oh.
I don't know exactly what he wants. Sometimes I think he wants to be Hugh Jackman, a song and dance man like Hugh Jackman. Other times he says he wants to go into musical therapy because that's kind of becoming a big thing these days. But he wants to do something with music, which I don't care. I mean, I really don't. I just want the kid to be happy. But, I also want him to be able to eat.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. I mean, it's I don't care. I mean, I just want when you think about it, I just want my kids to be happy.
No doubt.
I just really do.
Be happy and be able to pay the bills. If you can find the combination of those two, you're off to a good start.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I'm not trying to want to live my life through them. I've had my chance. It's like they're not gonna I'm not gonna burden them with any of my unmet dreams or anything.
Right.
So,
all right, we ready?
Yeah.
All right, coming down in 3, 2. Hey, Crawl Spacers, welcome to Spider History for December. The last one of 2019, JR. We're wrapping it up.
I know, 2019, I tell you, 2019 coming to an end. It's just like I'm trying to think of like remember Killraven, the War of the Worlds? I think 2019 was the last year of that, Amazing Adventures or whatever. And I'm just thinking, X-Men Days of Future Past took place in 2013.
When did Blade Runner take place?
2019.
November.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
November 2019. We've passed Blade Runner now.
Wow. Yeah. I don't think I'll live long enough to see 2099, which I think would be kind of fun.
I don't think you want to live to see 2099.
Why?
Do you know how old you'd be?
I know. I'd be over 100 years old.
I told Spencer to take care of himself, though, because he could very well see it. He's 18 now.
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at about another 80 years. But
at 2075, I'd be 100.
But with medical technology the way it is, I don't know. People crossing 100 could be like people crossing 70.
I'm going to go on record saying I don't want to live that long.
I don't want to live past my body's useful life. That's the thing.
True.
I don't want to become a burden to people that love me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
And you don't want your brain to go.
But God, Jesus, no.
No.
But second, or third, each passing decade, I become increasingly frustrated with the world. And how things are going, how things are changing. I don't like the fact that this is what our society is now.
All on the cell phones.
As opposed to everything. I mean, and it's just going to keep getting worse. So I think that our mortality is a gift.
Mm-hmm.
We're here for a finite amount of time because trust me, even if you could live for 1,000 years, you would just be angry.
You would be ticked at the human race, wouldn't you?
You would have hit peak WTF if even happening. Get me off this planet.
That other voice you're hearing, which I didn't introduce yet, is George, who's ticked off at humans. Welcome, George.
What's new?
Well, George doesn't need an introduction. That's the
He
thing.
doesn't.
I mean,
After all these years, he does not need an introduction.
You know what? I'm going to say, what's new? Me being angry about something, but you know what? That's not really the case, because if you listen to
Yeah,
if you listen to the reviews podcast, I've been happy for like a year and a half.
That's no doubt. So for this Spider history, wrapping up 2019, we're going back to 1976. It's the let me see if I can figure out how to say this. Is it the fourth time Spider-Man gets a new #1? Because we've got Amazing, Spec the Magazine, which lasted 2 issues. You've got Marvel Team Up, and then Spec #1, Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man #1 was introduced this month and year, December 1976.
yeah, but this was a special one. The others don't count.
Why was this one a
because
special one?
Because it was another Spider-Man title, exclusively Spider-Man.
Yeah, just Spidey.
Marvel Team Up was just kind of a it
was 50% Spider-Man's book.
Yeah. It wasn't a real Spider-Man book. You never felt that it was, and I think, in fact, I think SpiderFan.org once referred to Marvel Team Up as Jerry Conway's unwanted homework assignment, because it always seemed to, the nature, he seemed to be phoning it in on most of those stories that he wrote.
That does a disservice to a lot of the good Claremont stories that came out of Team Up.
Let's take a look.
No, but I'm thinking he's talking about Conway's run specifically when it was the second Spider-Man title, and I think Conway was doing it exclusively.
Taking a look at this cover, you've got Spider-Man clinging to the side of a wall. It says first issue collector's edition by popular demand. Spidey stars in an all new action series, and it features the stinging return of the tarantula. The cover price was 30 cents. If you look up in the top left, it says the Spectacular non-hyphenated Spider-Man. What is that, editor?
That is something only you notice and care about. The rest of us in 1976, at least the ones who weren't eating, Gerber vegetables at the time.
That is true.
We were going to this comic book store and we saw a #1 Spider-Man issue.
Oh,
and of course, Spider-Man, Amazing was at issue 163. That was just
hold that up. You've got the issue right in front of you. Let me see it. Yeah. There you go. It's not in a bag. What?
It was in a bag.
Okay.
It was in a bag, but now I'm bringing it out here.
There you go.
Because I'm actually going to open it.
Oh, take a whiff. Take a whiff of that old paper. Take a smell. Oh, rotting pulp.
Oh, my God. Rotting wood pulp.
Yeah.
Oh, there's just nothing like it. Nothing like it.
Yep.
Yeah, nothing like taking an old book from the 40s or 50s or whatever and just...
Yeah.
Two things real quick about this issue, this specific issue. I actually had this when I was a kid. My mom had bought this for me, and again, this is one I was 4 when this was out. So this was back in the period where I was still drawing dinosaurs into books for Spidey to fight.
You didn't.
So I had a copy of this.
Oh,
and the 4-year-old version of George drew all through this damn thing.
Oh, it was your coloring book.
Yeah.
It's saying Adam in YouTube chat says, I'm glad Spider-Fan can still be used for stuff like this. Yeah, SpiderFan.org was the very first Spider-Man site I went to on dial-up in a library in college. So Vinkman says, I had a copy of
it. It was like what? There was this.
Sam Ruby.
There was Sam Ruby, and there was the Spider-Man message board.
Yep.
And those were kind of and then, of course, then the crawl space came.
1998, yes.
And after that,
Yeah, mic drop, yeah. And Vinkman says the copy of Peter Parker Spec 1 that I own is the British version, so it has a UK price tag. Joey says he's happy that he owns all 263 issues of the first volume. And Adam is laughing that George drew Stegron in his book.
Back then, at 4 years old, I was drawing a lot of T-Rexes, a lot of Triceratops, and a lot of Pteranodons.
That's awesome.
I wasn't so great with the Triceratops.
George had to draw Stegron because no one else likes Stegron, says Web Century. That's not true. In the 70s, he showed up a lot. Anyway,
Web Century. Here's a big bag of go F yourself.
Okay. Premiere number 1. Go ahead.
Right.
Take me through this one.
Well, first of all, we have to.
Jerry.
We have to go. We have to go to the Spider's Web. Okay. The Spider's Web. And also one of the wonderful things about these old comics is all the ads.
Okay, I'm going to screen you when you do it. Hold it up. So here.
Yeah, and I won't. And I can't do it. I can't do it justice. But would you just look at things that don't age well? For example, here's an ad. Hang loose, it's the juice. O.J. Simpson.
Oh my.
Hey kids, this is O.J. Simpson coming at you with a switchblade. Oh no, with juice mobiles, multi-purpose shoes, and it's like
wow.
I mean, so you can you can run from the police like O.J. Simpson.
Hey, real quick, what's under O.J.? I mean, besides the glove, what's that Spider-Man ad? What's that Spider-Man?
Well, it's not really a Spider-Man ad. It's take your favorite superheroes to school. They're book covers, I guess. You can, it's like I'm not sure what they're for. I mean, but I guess
I remember those. They're book covers. Remember when you had to wrap your textbook up to protect them back in the day when we were kids? I had to.
I had to. I remember that.
Didn't really protect mine. I just beat the hell out of them and turned them back in. But spilled Kool-Aid on them and things of that nature. But anyway, that's one of the thrills of just seeing how badly some of these comics have aged. I mean, it's no Nightcat. I mean, but
written by Stan Lee.
And then I've got to read the Spider's Web here because this explains, okay, it's a fair question. Why another Spider-Man book? Why? You have one. We have Marvel Team Up. Why another one? Well, they go into the as far as why one because
we won an extra 30 cents.
Yeah, and also because at this time, remember, comics were like only 17 pages. So by having 2 Spider-Man comics, you have like a double-sized book now.
Money.
But no. You guys are too.
Spidey got to eat.
This is the 1970s.
Stanley got to eat,
and Marvel has integrity.
Okay.
And here. I'm going to explain why. I'm going to read it.
Read it. Still like money.
You see, we don't want this to be just another Spidey mag, because as far as we're concerned, that kind of reputation is the kiss of death for any character. It happened to another superhero at our dashing competition. There were so many books about him and his friends and his acquaintances and his nephews and his dogs and people he met on the street and total strangers who'd seen him once on TV that pretty soon all the stories became alike, and one issue is exactly like another. So don't think we haven't jokingly considered titles like Spidey's Girlfriend, Mary Jane Watson.
We actually have that now.
Who wrote this? Is this Stan?
Notes from myself. I'm guessing it was probably, who was the editor? Well, it was Jerry. I'm assuming it was Jerry Conway, because he was the writer-editor at this time.
So essentially, in '76, they're predicting everything that happened from like 2000 onward.
Exactly.
From like Quesada after to Cebulski.
Yeah.
So don't think we haven't jokingly considered Mary Jane, Spidey's ex-roommate Harry Osborn, and Spidey's Aunt May. We have, and we won't. So I mean,
in 1976, we won't.
Not going to be any Spider-Man, is there? We're interested in maintaining interest, yours and ours, and the best way to do that is to keep a firm grasp on our standards of quality.
They got a point, though. I mean, at this point in '76, I mean, like over at DC, you got like Spider-Man's pal Jimmy Olsen. Mm-hmm. Lois Lane had her own comic.
These were total shots at DC and Superman, is what it sounds like.
But on Spider-Man, those standards haven't wavered yet, and they won't waver now.
Until the 90s.
Yet.
I just drawing the line in the sand. This is we're not doing this just for money. We're doing this for art.
I said I blamed Quesada, or I said predicting Quesada and everything that came afterward. I mean, technically, this was going on in the 90s.
Oh yeah, dude.
In the 90s, all you had to do was walk through like a panel of a book, and you were going to get your own six issue miniseries.
Well, but
Solo.
Look at the Spider-Verse. Look at the Spider-Verse now. I mean, gee whiz, Spider-Gwen, and it's
so the first issue is written by Jerry Conway, Sal Buscema on art. Now, is Conway still writing Amazing at the time?
No, he's not.
He left.
Len Wein is.
Len Wein. Okay, so Conway came back.
Well, yeah, Conway came back, and he had he kicked off Spectacular, but I don't think he even finished this. This is like a start of a 3-parter. I don't think he even finished this. I think Archie Goodwin wrote another issue or whatever.
Remember, it was revolving writers for like 2 years.
The first couple of years of Spectacular was pretty uneven, which is kind of funny because Conway admits, he says that naturally there'll be some growing pains. Some issues won't mesh as comfortably as we'd like. Others may be slightly redundant. But in a few months, we expect you'll see something special. And it took about 2 years. And I think when coincidentally, when Frank Miller started, and in conjunction with the Carrion, the first Carrion storyline, when Carrion really was a cool villain at that time. And there was
I literally cannot hear Carrion mentioned. I can't read the name. I can't hear the name without literally hearing my wayward son afterward.
Yeah, I know.
I cannot. Well, that was actually
the title. That was actually the title of one of the parts.
I know.
Carrion, my wayward son.
Yeah. I can't hear the word Carrion. And it doesn't even matter if it's comics. Like if we're talking about it, like in the Animal Kingdom or whatever. I always hear my wayward son after it.
Well, if you get triggered by titles, wait till you see one of the chapter titles of Spidey Super Stories coming out.
This ought to be good. There's a tease. There's a tease for this episode.
Anyway, so we'll go through here. This fairly quickly.
Stings the Tarantula is the name.
Yeah, actually, this is a pretty pedestrian story. Basically, just what's happening, is there's this Vice Chancellor Edward Lansky who the name who'll pop up now and again for years and years and years. He's given some big speech or whatever about needing more money for education, and then it looks like then he appears to be the victim of an attempted kidnapping. And Spidey steps in, and this is the time you see Flash and Mary Jane. Mary Jane's playing with Peter's head right now. She's remember she knows he's Spider-Man. She's known this whole time, right? But she's kind of getting tired of his act, and so she's using Flash to mess with his head. So anyway, so actually they do quote unquote kidnap the Chancellor, and Tarantula, Spider-Man fights the Tarantula who's covering for the goons, and the bad guys get away. Later, when Peter goes home, Glory Grant, this is where Glory Grant is looking for a job, and Mary Jane just happens to be there also, just because, when New York, New York's a fairly small city, Manhattan. I mean, if you're going by City Hall, everybody's going by City Hall, so, but Peter's spider sense goes off, and because he notices that that's the same car that Tarantula's goons got away in, so he follows them, and we see that the goons get out of the car and the Tarantula gets out of the car, and we see them, this mysterious figure who's now driving it, and he's obviously the mastermind behind whatever's going on, and there's no mystery as to who he is. The mayor's so what is the plot here? Okay, I mean, this is fairly pedestrian. Okay, the mysterious figure orders Tarantula to kill the mayor while making it look like a botched kidnapping attempt. And so the mayor, this is when Abe Beam was mayor. This is even before Ed Koch, back in mayor. And when in the 1970s, when New York was in the crapper financially and everything else. So the Tarantula goes to the mayor's office, and he's going to kill the mayor. And Spider-Man interrupts it. But another one of the fun things about 70s comics, or, comics before the modern era, is when Spider-Man, okay, so here's this big dramatic scene. Okay.
Gotcha.
Right here. This big dramatic scene where Spider-Man attacks a tarantula. But the thing is here, you look at all these word balloons. Tarantula has been talking this entire time. You know, he's just been rambling, and then Spider-Man. So he's monologuing. And
he can take a hit in the back and still have a monologue come out.
Exactly, he's taking a hit in the back. And then then they have a typical superhero supervillain fight, and for whatever reason, Spider-Man has this one line. When I was 13 years old, I thought it was hysterical. He's sick of tarantulas talking, and he says, "If I have to hear one more word of macho earwax out of you, I'll go crazy." I was 13. I thought it was funny. Just kind of like how Brad thinks some of his jokes are funny these days.
No, mine are funny.
I thought it was funny. Well, Spider-Man and the Tarantula go through the window. Tarantula snags the mayor, and as they fall to the ground, Tarantula says, "You can either take me to jail or save the mayor." Spidey saves the mayor. Tarantula gets away. That's the end of part 1. Part 2 is Kraven the Hunter. In part 3, we find out that the Vice Chancellor Lansky was the bad guy all the time, which we knew he was. I mean, it was pretty obvious that he was the bad guy. And in issue 3, Lansky turns into Light Master for the first time. So that's the introduction of I don't know if Light Master would C or D list, maybe D list.
He's better than Jackal.
So this is this is the first story of Light Master, and it's a rather dull, inauspicious beginning.
As I'm listening to you talk about this, I'm wondering what, in your opinion, besides Amazing Spider-Man #1, what was the best #1 launch of a non-ASM book? What started the strong? Because this doesn't sound like that strong of a start.
None of them really do start. Well, I tell you what, the Web #1. Web #1.
Yeah, that's good.
The original, the so-called death of the symbiote.
Yeah.
But then Peter Parker, not Peter Parker, but just Spider-Man
with McFarlane,
with Todd McFarlane. That was the Doom.
It sold a lot, but that wasn't that great a story.
There wasn't a lot in that. There wasn't a lot of story to it.
No,
there wasn't a lot of story to any of what McFarlane do, about 3 or 4 stories or whatever. And
he did Morbius, he did Ghost Rider, and Wolverine.
Yeah,
no, Ghost Rider and Hobgoblin.
And that was like a 5-parter. The Spider-Man in Canada, the Lizard was a 5-parter. I mean, there wasn't near enough story for any of it. So perfect 90s comic. Yeah. But sold a lot of copies. I mean, there's one goofball in particular, I think, tried to buy every variant, and
that's me.
I'm sure that when he's still having to work at age 70, he's going to look back on that and wonder why he did that.
Probably 5 years. I remember 1990. Have we reviewed Spider-Man 1 in Spider History? Have we done that one?
Amazing Spider-Man?
No, McFarlane 1 Spider-Man.
We have. I don't believe we have. But
let's do that sometime, because I've got a good story for it. I'll save it for that episode.
Can't wait.
You tease Spidey super stories. Anyway,
yeah, I know, but people anticipate my teases.
Oh, good Lord. All right. Okay, let's go. You want to go to Amazing now?
Yeah, let's go to Amazing.
Okay, so let me pull it up here. Again, thanks to Spider Fire fan. I know, exactly. We're going to the Kingpin. Good looking. That looks like a Romita Senior. ASM 163 came out in December.
It says DC plus JR. So,
what? Where do you see that?
No, I mean here in the Kingpin, DC plus JR. So you're right. I think it is a Romita.
I thought you meant DC Comics. December 19. What are we in? 76. That's right.
Yep.
ASM 163 came out on the cover date. Kingpin's throwing a big desk at Spider-Man with the word balloon. The Kingpin is back, Webhead. And Spidey says, and this time, there's no way on Earth to stop him. All out action in this mighty Marvel manner. Written by Len Wein and Ross Andrew, underrated Ross Andrew on pencils. Go ahead, JR.
Yep. Ross Andrew. Always one of my favorites.
Me too. This is...
this is this was the first time the Kingpin had come back. For the last year or so, there had been these mysterious guys in these purple costumes, flying around or whatever. And they first showed up in the classic issue 153, which was the longest 100 yards. They showed up there. They showed up a couple issues later with the Sandman story, and there was this mysterious figure in the background. This huge hulking shadow of a figure. And he had the long, I want to call it the Franklin Roosevelt thing or whatever, the cigarette with the holder or whatever. So, I mean, it was dead giveaway who it was, but it was still supposed to be mysterious. So anyway, so Spider-Man runs into these guys again. These guys are flying some big weird helicopter thing that comes and snatches this bus, which has this particular crystal or whatever that's quote unquote someone is wanting. But when Spider-Man, as they start taking it away, and Spider-Man jumps on it, they let it go, and Spider-Man looks like he's going to fall to his death. And the sinister mastermind, we have another sinister man. We always have a sinister mastermind.
Yeah, generally.
But actually he's pretty furious. He doesn't want Spider-Man to die. I mean, he's got plans for Spider-Man, so he don't want Spider-Man to die. Well, but so Spider-Man doesn't die because he's Spider-Man. All right. Well, then we go to
he's got 3 books coming out a month now. He can't die.
Yeah, he can't die. He's too much of a cash cow.
Yeah.
But him and all his amazing friends. So anyway, so Peter is bemoaning, the fact that Mary Jane's messing with his head, and issue number 163 is actually another. It's a minor. It's not a major landmark or anything, but it's an interesting little minor landmark because Peter gets his apartment furnished. I mean,
that's true.
Glory
some of the
Grant
most unfortunate curtains ever.
Yep. So Glory feels sorry for him because he doesn't have any furniture. So, so they throw a surprise party. And of course, boys and girls, I mean, I don't know if you can see this, but
there you go.
This is the first with the wooden Indian. You see the wooden Indian, which winds up getting stolen later, and I think in Web of Spider-Man.
It does?
Yes. Kids rob Peter's apartment, and they take the wooden Indian too. And Spider-Man catches them. But he leaves them webbed to the wooden Indian. And then I think Peter David wrote it maybe, but but in the last panel is the kids webbed up to the Indian and one going, you had to take the wooden Indian.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is the first wooden Indian. This is also the first, remember the bear, this big bear?
Yeah. Where did he get that bear? I forget that.
First bear. It doesn't say who necessarily provided these, but the bear, of course, you saw periodically for years. And then, years later, the unfortunate curtains that George was talking about, the plastic curtains, they caught on fire, and and Peter I think the bear caught on fire, and Peter used the curtains to put it out, but the curtains were like plastic, so they melted on the bear.
That's right.
So Peter threw the bear away. He said, I always thought it was kind of silly for a grown man to have a big bear. Yeah. But when Peter dumps it in the trash, this man walks by, he's got a Superman belt buckle, and curly hair, and he's going, gosh, what a really great bear, and he takes it with him. Well, the guy is Len Wein. And the writer at the time, I forget who wrote it, but again, this is years later. And someone in the letters page wrote, was that Len Wein who came and took the bear? And the writer said, yeah, it was. We figured since he's the one who gave it to Peter in the first place, that he might as well have it back.
Wow.
So, but anyway,
that's crazy.
So Peter's, I mean,
one thing I liked about Peter's apartment, you knew what his apartment looked like, and it was like this all the way up to DeFalco, but until he got married, until he went to the mansion with Mary Jane,
to the deluxe apartment in the sky.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
But that's one thing that they often overlook is Peter's. I can't really. I know he's with Fred and Robbie right now, but I don't know the layout of his apartment. And I think Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man was supposed to tackle who's in his apartment, but you never really did before the book got canceled.
And I mean, this place, you can find, it's kind of funny because this was in Chelsea.
Yeah.
Back in the days when Chelsea sucked. I said, George is going to make a point here. He's waiting to make a point. I can see it.
I was letting you. So I looked up on the Marvel wiki, and sure enough, Len Wein is an Earth 616 character with 7 appearances. His first appearance is listed as Amazing Spider-Man. Volume 2. No, I'm sorry. Amazing Adventures, Volume 2, number 16. He's listed as 7 appearances, which include, hang on here. Giant Size X-Men number 1. I didn't remember him from being in Giant Size X-Men number 1, but it's been a long time since I read it. Incredible Hulk 213. Peter Parker, Spider-Man number 48. Thor 207, Werewolf by Night number 9, and X-Men number 123.
Well, there you go.
And he recently passed away too. It's kind of a it's you talk about people dying and stuff, but he recently and actually talk about people dying. The Star Trek community got blasted here in the last
Odo.
Renee Auberjonois died. Dorothy Fontana. That was a
big Charlie X.
Oh yeah,
Robert Walker Jr. passed away, and the Nog, Aaron.
Oh, Nog died.
Yeah, Nog died. Yeah,
and and Maria Sirtis's husband passed away.
Saw that too. Yeah,
61 years old.
Yeah, awful.
That is. Yeah. Anyway, Len showed up and picked up the bear. Also, another kind of significant happening in this issue is, as you'll look here. Let's see. See the happy couple there.
Oh,
starting to canoodle.
Yeah,
starting to canoodle there.
Harry and Liz.
Harry and Liz. And little Normie's going to come out of that union sometime soon. And they actually announced their engagement. I think 2 or 3 issues later.
Yep.
When the villain is
the
Stegron.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so Spider-Man. Anyway, so Spider-Man. He figures that he's
George. Did you see that? By the way, he was winding up his spider knowledge just to throw it at us. He was winding up. I saw it.
It looked like he was fighting off senility.
That was exactly what it was. That was like, okay, where am I?
We just went off on a 10-minute tangent about Len Wein and a bear.
Yeah. I've had a couple of those moments tonight myself.
Yeah.
By the way, Adam says Spec 48 is where he takes the bear.
Okay.
Yeah, on YouTube chat.
That was always a good. I always like those moments. I mean, I really do.
Yeah.
I don't know that they do those anymore. I
don't think they do.
Even though, and this was. Stan Lee's. Stan Lee's legacy, depending on who you talk to, is kind of mixed, but. Regardless of who may have come up with the idea of a certain character or a certain power or whatever, Stan Lee created the Marvel myth, where all of these guys were characters in their own right, and they appeared in Marvel comics.
Merry Marvel Marching Society.
Yeah. I mean, even though Stan was long gone, the idea of, Len showing up, for example, it just kind of it was part of that whole mythology and culture that the writers and artists were part of the mythology too.
John Romita Jr. hunk of the month.
Huh?
John Romita Jr.
I remember that.
Of the month. Remember?
Yep, I remember that.
DC didn't do stuff like that.
Yeah, and now writers and artists hate us. They think we're all, man babies and live in our parents' basements, and it's like, but see this basement? This is mine, my basement. So not my mom's, mine. In the banks, but anyway, and it will be shared with the bank for about another 25 years. So Spider-Man, Peter's feeling pretty salty because at this party, Harry, Mary Jane, and Flash, of course, that's still going on, and that'll go on for another couple of months until Stegron shows up.
Yeah.
So Spider-Man figures that anybody who's, Peter changes to Spider-Man. He figures anybody who stole this component is using an awful lot of electricity to power it, and so of course that leads him to an abandoned movie studio on Manhattan in the upper, let's see here, the upper 50s, I think. And yeah, an old unused movie studio in the West 50s, which I suppose it might have been there in the 70s, because it sure as heck ain't there now. the Manhattan of the 70s is not the Manhattan of today, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So Spider-Man goes to this old abandoned movie studio, kicks down the door or whatever, and it's the Kingpin. And of course the Kingpin says, I lured you here. And Spider-Man tells a whole bunch of fat jokes, and they fight. And the Kingpin, pulls. I'm assuming he probably stole this from the Penguin, because I think the Kingpin's tie emits a gas and knocks Spider-Man out. So then when Spider-Man comes to, he's strapped to a table with all hooked up for light and sound, and there's this guy in underwear on the table slab next to him, who's obscured by the Kingpin's body. And the Kingpin says, we're going to steal that which is most dear to you, so that he may live again. In just one moment, Spider-Man, we're going to steal your life. Okay.
And who is the he?
Well, we'll find in in issue number 164, we find out that it's Richard Fisk.
That's right. Yep.
Because what had happened is, go back in the 80s, Richard Fisk was the schemer. Okay, so he was the schemer, and he was trying to bring down the Kingpin. And when the schemer revealed himself to be Richard Fisk, the Kingpin, his brain got fried, and he became catatonic.
So he's going to save his boy. Yep.
And I can't believe my son's doing this to me. So he became catatonic. Well,
there you go.
Then in the interim, Richard joined Hydra. And they revived the Kingpin. They shocked him back into his state of mind. But Richard was mortally wounded. Okay. So now what this whole plot is that they were using this device. They're going to power up this life stealing force, and Spidey's life force is going to go to Richard Fisk. So Spidey's life force goes into Richard Fisk, and the Kingpin just lets Spider-Man go, says, you're going to die in a few hours anyway. Instead of just stomping on his head, which anybody with any sense would do. But he lets him get away, and so Spider-Man goes to Doc Connors, and they conjure up a device which sucks the life force back from Richard into Spider-Man. But Richard has it long enough that it's re-energized his body, so he's going to live. But in the final battle in the Brooklyn Navy Yard, the Kingpin falls to his apparent death in the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and that's the end of that story. Until
next time,
issue 195, 6 or 7 or whatever. When
I've got some bad news for you, JR. We've lost a YouTuber. Adam says, "Gonna hit the bar. Good night, all."
Were we that boring?
No, he needs a drink. So good night, Adam. There you go.
Well, I guess some people are lucky that they don't have to get up in the morning and take their kid to take the ACT.
So
you're gonna figure out you're gonna determine what that's like in a few years.
What would you like? Marvel Team Up 52 now?
Yeah, let's go to Marvel Team Up 52.
I like before we move on. I like that the panel of Kingpin hitting Spidey with the desk inside the issue. And I like the cover.
Oh yeah,
too,
that's
but
true.
Desk fighting, good old fashioned desk fight.
No doubt. So we're headed now to Team Up 52, Spider-Man and Captain America. Again, Jerry Conway. He just wrote an issue 1, and so did Sal Buscema. He just penciled an issue 1.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whenever they think they're out,
they bring them back in. So again, December 76. On the cover, you've got Spider-Man and Cap back to back. Danger, Demon on a Rampage. You've got what is his name?
Batroc
the Leaper.
Ha ha.
Ha ha.
Batroc.
And
Batroc the Leaper.
And who's the green guy?
No, it's just a nameless monster.
Okay, nameless monster.
Generic Kirby-esque monster.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because remember, this is Marvel Team Up. These are like one and done stories.
Exactly.
So, we don't develop anyone or anything. We just have it's strictly plot driven stories.
Yep.
So anyway,
through this one.
this story begins with Spider-Man swinging through town, blah, 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 and all of a sudden this portal opens up and this green monster walks through.
Because it does, that's
what green monsters. I mean, what the heck? You expect him to take a cab or something? I mean, of course he's going to walk through an interdimensional portal.
Why not?
So he and Spidey go around, but of course he's, big green monster. He's too strong for Spidey. And then all of a sudden, all kinds of other people start coming out of this portal, and I guess some of this, and this goes back to a previous Captain America story. All right. But anyway, this cowboy walks out, and Spidey goes, "Hey, it's a cowboy." And this guy goes, "Texas Jack to you, partner." And I'm assuming that means something. That character meant something to somebody somewhere.
Well, back to Captain America 200 or 200 and 201, something like
that. Falcon also hops out of the portal too.
We're almost there. We're almost there. Yeah, Falcon and some chick come out, and then a bunch of whole other people come out from this dark dimension that Captain America has. He left some kind of bomb behind and blew it up, and he jumps out from the dark dimension into our world, and of course the Falcon's not in his right mind. Let me take care of mental illness the way it used to be done in America, and he knocks him out. So
good grief.
That's how you deal. That's how you deal with mental illness in America in the 70s.
Hit him in the back and then put him over your shoulder and run.
Just hit him and knock him out.
JR just casually throws out dark dimension or something like that. I mean, the dark dimension is a very specific thing.
Well, yeah, but it's just the dark. I mean, it's a plot device. It means almost nothing to this. It means nothing to Spider-Man's history. It's merely a plot device for the story. And if I wanted to learn more about it, I'd read Captain America, which I don't, because
by the way, if you wanted to learn more about it, you'd read Doctor Strange.
By the way, George, very good with your Captain
America doing it.
George, very good Captain America knowledge. This issue is referencing Cap 201. Very good. You said 200, 201.
Yep.
Very good.
Okay, so now we go to Batroc Z Leaper. And of course, Batroc is French. So like I'm going to be doing, when I do Batroc's lines, I'm going to be using an authentic French accent.
Oh, great.
Okay. So, so Batroc is, let's see here. He's kind of bored. He's sitting and he's not very enjoying the high life. He really needs something to do, something to steal. And then he sees he just happens to look out out of his patio and he sees this green monster walking by. And like I said, New York. Authentic French accent here. What a stroke of Z-Luck. Since the ill-fated affair of the Iron Fist, I have waited for such an opportunity. I don't use deodorant.
No.
My women don't, our women don't shave their armpits. And we all hate Americans. Anyway, so
I apologize to our French listeners.
I see this monster. He is my salvation. If I can make him my slave, I can commit the greatest theft of all time. Now,
you sound like Pepe Le Pew.
Well, it's written like Pepe Le Pew. I mean, it's like every Cyclone talks this way. They all say Z, and it's like, and they say Z when a normal person wouldn't say the. I think it just like for example, he says, "What a stroke of Z luck." I mean, you would say, "What a stroke of luck." You wouldn't say, "What a stroke of the luck." So why is he going? Why doesn't he just say what a stroke of luck? No, he said what a stroke of Z-Luck. So anyway. Okay, so this big flying shield ship.
What? Big flying what?
Shield ship.
Shield ship. Okay.
Shield ship, which has transuranium on it. Okay?
Oh yeah, that.
Well, of course, so Batroc, Z Leaper, and the big green monster, because the big green monster, just needs a friend and needs some cuddles. And, Batroc, says, "Oh, well, we French are all touchy and things like that." So, anyway. And, so the big green monster throws a big rock or whatever and brings the shield ship down, and of course, Batroc goes, "Marvelo, mon ami, you through Z car so perfectly, eat punch de ho through Z engine without touching Z precious cargo."
Good Lord.
Anyway, so it's like, we all smoke, and we all hate America, and we all worship Charles de Gaulle, and so.
All right. Let's leave
anyway,
France. Are we done with that one?
Oh,
well,
hell
no.
no.
We're done picking on France, but no, we're not done picking on France or this issue. Anyway, so Captain America finds Batroc and the monster, and they start fighting, and Spidey joins the fight or whatever, and let's see here. Well, they Spidey and Captain America, of course, use that old treasured fighting device of, hey, there's the monster on one side of us, there's Batroc Z Leaper on the other side of us, and they're both coming toward us. Why don't we just duck, and they'll run into each other and knock each other out?
We've seen that move a few times, haven't we?
So it pretty well knocks Batroc out, but not the green monster, because now he's starting to glow. Okay. Anyway, and in our last thing with Batroc here, was he glowing when you first saw him? He was not, mon ami. That I am sure. Do you think this glowing is dangerous? Anyway, so the monster's, the monster really actually it's pretty pathetic. He just wants to get the heck away from New York in the 1970s, because he'd rather be in the dark dimension, or what was left of it. I think Captain America destroyed it, but he'd rather be there than New York in the 1970s. All right. So George is shaking his head. I'm assuming that that's not a seizure or anything. So
we don't know what Z shaking is.
So the guy tries to get, the monster tries to get away on a ferry, and Captain America, goes and monkeys with things and blows the ship up, blows the monster up. That's the end of that story. Aunt May happens to be in the hospital. Peter and Mary Jane go to pick her up, and of course, Peter and Mary Jane, remember, they're still on the outs now, and Cap just happens to walk by, because I think he's either on his way to visit the Falcon, or he just got done visiting the Falcon, and the Falcon, he doesn't know if the Falcon's insanity can be cured, so I guess he figures, well, I'll just have to go hit him again, I
just have to beat on him some more.
Yeah, so beat on him some more.
I'll beat the sanity into him.
Jeez.
So Cap is feeling pretty down, and Peter's walking by saying, well, what's Cap doing near the hospital? He's the healthiest guy I know, and he's got everything, an adoring public, 1,000 friends, no problems. I wish I was like Captain America instead of a crisis-ridden schlemiel like Spider-Man.
Roll credits, yeah.
That is Marvel Team Up number 52.
Oh my gosh. All right.
We all smell because we only bathe once a week.
Now, let's do one aim for the kids. Spidey Super Stories number 20.
All right.
Yes, it does say Kirby and Romita on the cover. So,
yes, it does. Right,
Kirby and Romita on the cover. Look at that.
Which, obviously I'm going to, make some fun of Spidey Super Stories. We're going to have some fun with it.
I love Spidey Super Stories.
But like we've said before, when Marvel did this, Marvel did not phone this in. I mean, they put talent on the book. They put the writers on the book. They put the artists on the book. At least initially. I stopped getting it after the first couple of years, because
it died in 82, I think.
Yeah. At that time, comics went up to like 35 cents a copy.
Well, this one's 35 cents, yeah.
Yeah, well, Spidey Super Stories was always a little more than the rest of them.
Yeah.
It was like always a nickel or a dime more, because it was more. It had no ads.
Yeah.
So when the regular price of comics started going up, I had to drop Spidey Super Stories, because I just that extra 35 cents a month. I just couldn't handle it. But anyway,
Yep.
Hey, it was 1976, boys and girls, and I didn't have my first job in the grocery store yet. So anyway. So Spidey Super Stories. Well, first of all, if you're reading Spidey Super Stories, maybe you're familiar with Spider-Man, but you're not familiar with the other heroes who appear. So, in fact, George is acknowledging who one of our guest stars is, the Invisible Girl. Because,
by the way,
so
audio listeners, George has stepped away from his camera. So
no, George is invisible.
Oh, he's invisible to honor Sue Storm. Okay, my bad.
Okay, so we first meet Sue Storm. Sue's secret.
Here, let me get you full screen. There you go. Sue's secret.
Yep. Sue's secret. Is that
sounds like a lingerie store. Sue's secret.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Right next to Victoria's Secret. Sue's secret.
And considering some of the outfits she wore during the Byrne era,
or actually the '90s where she had the 4 cleavage.
Maybe okay. It wasn't the Byrne era then, was it? It was
right.
Okay. Anyway, so we learned that she has, she can turn invisible, and make invisible force bubbles and things of that nature. So, well, anyway, so we got to go into the main story. The main story is called Day of the Ray. Right. And with the Human Torch guest starring as well, and it opens up with Jake Gyllenhaal here.
Here, let me there you go.
Jake Gyllenhaal is the villain of the story, and he's developed a hate ray. And he shot the torch with his hate ray. So now the torch hate ray. So now the torch hates Spider-Man. And he's going after Spider-Man. So anyway, so like so Spidey and the torch start fighting. Cool it, hothead, says Spider-Man. Out of my way, bug brain, says the torch. Well, the torch is cooking on all burners today. Wow, what a warm greeting. And then, of course, the torch throws a fireball, and Spider-Man goes, "Great balls of fire!"
Goodness gracious!
I know. It's like you feel like you want to start stomping on the piano or whatever. Well, so Spider-Man, he starts falling, and he's saved by an invisible force bubble, and of course that turns out to be the Invisible Girl.
Right.
Well, they spray the torch. Spidey rips off a fire hydrant, hoses down the torch, and the torch says, "Whoa, what was I was going bonkers there or whatever." It's like, boy, all I remember is this red ray, and Spider-Man's thinking, I wonder who sent that ray. Well, of course, it's obviously Mysterio. So Mysterio zaps Spider-Man with the hate ray. And so Spidey and the Torch start fighting, and Sue's she wasn't born yesterday. She figures out that something's wrong. So, she turns invisible, and she finds that it's Mysterio. Well, Mysterio then captures her, and Spidey and the Torch, are back to normal, or whatever, because because when Sue got in a fight with Mysterio, kind of like Kevin Conroy in Crisis on Infinite Earths, he just kind of fell back and destroyed his machine and everything. Did anybody watch that? Because that was so sad. That was a disappointment. But anyway,
I did not.
So I had to step away for a moment.
We thought you were just invisible.
Did I miss JR mentioning the large, easy to read print?
No, but no, I didn't mention it. But yes, first of all, it is certified by Morgan Freeman.
Yes,
as being easy to read.
Nice.
So,
do you have a complete run of Spidey Super Stories? I do not.
No, I don't. I just have the first couple of years.
I need to fill those in.
Before I sold my entire collection of print comics.
Yeah,
I did.
Oh, that's a good one.
I bought them when I was in middle school. I bought them from a friend of mine for pretty cheap, actually. Yeah. And because I wasn't big into them at the time they were out.
Yeah.
And so I bought it because I actually hadn't read these. And so my friend bought them to me, and then I read them, and I was like, I'd like my money back. Because these are actually pretty
I'd like to read them just for the art and the funny and the nostalgia. It's like reading an Amazing Friends episode,
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't go. I mean, if you go in reading this under any illusions that you're going to get a real comic book. I mean, it was never intended. It was never intended to please the fanboys.
By the way, I'm looking at it, and it looks like Mysterio, when he's running away from the Torch and Spidey, he gets in the same helicopter that Thanos was in.
Yes, that's what I was thinking about mentioning. There's a rental place, and they rent the helicopters to the bad guys. So later they rent it to Thanos, and it becomes. But anyway, so Mysterio, Mysterio kidnaps Sue, flies away on the Mysterio copter, which later becomes a Thanos copter. Well, Spidey and the Torch catch up with him, take him to jail, and Mysterio swears at the very end, rats.
Rats.
They got him. Whoops. Okay, there we go.
Got him.
Yeah, see, rats. Because I mean, what else can you say when you're a supervillain and your plot has been foiled?
Yep.
So anyway, so then we have a one-page, introduction to the Torch. If you don't know who the Torch is, but anyway, the Torch's tale, and guest starring Doc Ock.
There you go.
See,
Johnny versus Ock.
Yeah, he's got to stop Ock from stealing the painting. Oh, curses! It's too hot for me. Your goose is cooked, Doc.
In the end.
So now we go to the middle segment of Spidey Super Stories, which was always the comic version of one of the live action Electra companies.
The actors, yeah.
So this is Spider-Man versus Spidey versus the Mouse.
Look at that. Hold that up a little closer. That's a weird looking panel. Dude with a big on the right, yeah. Big pizza pie and a giant mouse in a trench coat.
Yep.
Weird.
The mouse is going to steal the cheese.
Better than cut it. I hope he doesn't cut it. Nothing.
No.
You guys suck.
No. No.
So anyway, this guy's delivering a pizza, but the mouse comes behind and steals the cheese.
He does what?
Steals the cheese.
No. There's a giant slurp.
Cheese. Yeah. Well, of course, this is bad. I mean, and
oh my god!
So Spidey Super Stories here is predicting the Disney buyout. The Disney buyout.
Spidey
Super Stories.
The mouse.
The Disney buyout. Yeah,
wow.
Mouse.
JR, I just read the second panel. Read this one. Wow. So the guy knocks on the door, and the woman opens the door. What is her caption?
The mouse gets the cheese.
No.
I ordered a pizza, not a cracker. Chomp chomp.
No, she's calling the white guy a cracker. You see it?
No, she's not.
She's not?
She's not.
She's not? Oh, he took the cheese off of it. Oh, I guess you could interpret it differently. I interpret it differently.
Oh.
Wait a minute, Brad. Show the panel.
I thought it was racist.
Brad,
show the panel, JR. Show the panel. Okay, right there. I ordered a pizza, not a cracker. What do you think?
And see, here's the thing, though. This is Luis, okay?
Yeah.
Luis is not a cracker, okay?
So Luis, this is Luis. Luis is literally like he's either Puerto Rican or Cuban.
Okay,
like he's Latino. So again,
that doesn't work.
Or he may be Chicano. I can't remember.
I was about to say maybe Captain America needs to come up behind you and give you a karate chop or whatever. Whoa. So anyway, so we go to the. This gal's going up to a cheeseburger
I saw racism in my Super Stories. I'm sorry.
Goes up to a cheeseburger vendor, whatever, and she wants a cheeseburger. Well, the mouse just comes and sucks the cheese off the burger.
Does what?
Sucks the cheese off the burger. So, so Spider-Man is getting pretty, he has got to stop the mouse. So he just happens to be swinging by and he finds that Morgan Freeman tied to a light post or whatever. And of course it doesn't look like Morgan Freeman, but trust me, it was Morgan Freeman. Okay,
George. Anyway, you're walking in New York City. Morgan Freeman's tied to a lamppost. What do you do, George?
I probably let him go and hope that he gives me a lot of money because it's Morgan Freeman. Hopefully he's like, oh, hey, thanks for untying me. Here's $10,000.
Yeah. So anyway, so he's in his underwear. I mean, it's
Morgan
because
Freeman's in his underwear.
He's in his underwear because the mouse. See, this guy was going to be a judge at a cheese show in Yankee Stadium. They're having a big cheese show. Okay. So they've got all these cheeses lined up, and the mouse, of course, is wearing the tuxedo that Morgan Freeman was wearing. Okay. So, he just slipped in and nobody noticed that there's this mouse wearing this tuxedo. And he's going to steal all this cheese. But, Spider-Man saves the day.
You have to show this panel. I've never seen Web Fluid do this before. Go ahead.
Yes.
Here he goes.
He creates a mouse trap with his web fluid.
Look at that Web Fluid mouse trap. What in the world?
Catches the mouse.
Wow.
So
can't say I've ever seen that.
Where are you coming from, Spider-Man?
Nobody knows who you are.
So anyway, our next story our next story, we're actually kind of continuing the Fantastic Four.
We've got more.
We've got, but wait, there's more. And it's the Impossible Man. Yeah. And he's sailing through space, coming to Earth to have a good time. Mm-hmm. So, he goes and he eats a bunch of hot dogs. Then the vendor says he has to pay for them and get money. So he goes to the bank and steals some money. Then he turns into a rocket. Then he turns into a giant green and purple turkey,
A giant turkey. Hold that image up, please, of the Impossible Man dressed as a turkey. Wow.
Turns into a green and purple turkey.
Wow.
And J. Jonah Jameson, look, hey, there's a giant turkey down there.
What
Get a
in
picture,
the world?
Parker. Well, of course, Peter can't just take a picture. When he sees a giant green and purple turkey, this is a job for Spider-Man.
And what does the captions of Spider-Man say? Boy, what
Moments
a great...
later.
Yeah, there it is.
Moments later. Boy, I'd better bag that big bad bird. But the Impossible Man, turns into a giant pair of scissors and cuts his way out of the webbing. And then, he and Spidey decide to chill out. And the Impossible Man says, hey, I'm from the planet Pop-Up, and I'm just here on a vacation. And I'm going to tear up the town.
I've seen a lot of tourism websites for that planet Pop-Up. Yeah, it's on the internet a lot. Pop-Up. Come on, that's a joke. Pop-up ads, get it?
It's almost 11 p.m.
Anyway, we were talking about interesting titles.
Yeah,
and here's the. In fact, I have to be the part 2 is called Behind the Green Door.
Right. Is that a drug reference?
No, Brad. That's
behind the green door.
That's no.
What is it? What's behind the green door? What's that reference?
That's a porn reference.
No.
Yes.
There's a porn reference in Spidey Super Stories.
Literally, behind the green door is the name of a porn. Is a classic.
Very famous classic 70s porn movie.
Wow.
Behind the green door.
How did that pass PBS?
Double billed with Deep Throat. So,
my gosh.
Well, the people that were working at PBS back in those days probably weren't really all aware.
Vinkman says in YouTube chat, whenever Brad tries to make a joke, crickets.
No, that's not necessarily true. Sometimes Brad says some things, and in Brad's defense, it's getting late. I've been up since like 6:30, and I'm kind of tired.
Yep. Oh my gosh, the Hulk's here.
That's right. Behind the Green Door
is the Hulk. Not a bad XXX movie. Okay.
And actually, just to let you know, Behind the Green Door is a 1972 American feature-length pornographic film, widely considered one of the genre's classic pictures, and one of the films that ushered in the golden age of porn, starring Marilyn Chambers.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Marilyn Chambers as Gloria Saunders, and Johnny Keys as
the Incredible Hulk. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. The Green Door has Bruce.
You don't want to hear behind the green, any more behind. Yeah. So anyway, yes,
boys
and girls,
about that too.
They slip in a pornographic reference
in Spidey
Super Stories. So anyway, Behind the Green Door is the Hulk.
Yeah.
And so. The Impossible Man decides to, mess with the Hulk. And of course, the Hulk is, pretty ill-tempered. And so what the Impossible Man eventually does is he reduces himself to the size of a fly. He gets on Hulk's nose, and Hulk decides to smash him and knocks himself out.
Please show this, JR. The shot of a confused-looking Hulk with an Impossible Man on his nose. What in the world? What in the world?
The Hulk knocks himself out.
Man.
Well, and then it's kind of like that classic Star Trek episode, Squire of Gothos, where Trelane's parents show up and decide to take him away, saying you've caused too much trouble. It's time to come home. Well, more pop-up-ians.
More pop-up ads, yeah.
Pretty well tell the Impossible Man, you've had your fun. Now it's time to come home. So that, boys and girls, is issue number 20 of Spidey Super Stories. And hopefully you didn't cut out the Spidey the Spidey number stamps,
The
Spidey
stamp,
Super
number
Story stamps,
4.
number 4.
And you can get a year subscription to Spidey Super Stories for $4.50.
For $4.50 for 12 bi-monthly issues.
Yeah.
Which actually, though, is not,
that's not bad.
If you look here at, and that was just 6 issues.
Mm-hmm.
Here, going back to Spectacular Spider-Man number 1, subscription rate $4 for 12 issues.
That's an extra 50 cents. By the way, Joey,
in 1976, you could get a full year. For now, what you can get maybe
one month. Joey in YouTube chat says JR has now moved on to porn history.
That's why you get Spider history is not just revisiting old Spider-Man comics. It's revisiting American culture.
There you
go.
There
so
you go.
like you get, folks, you learn, you expand, your horizons are broadened by Spider history.
Well, we're not expanding.
You leave smarter than when you arrive.
Well, that's debatable. So that was December 1976. Good month or bad month? Go.
Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man number 1, a must-have in everybody's collection. So yeah, it was a good month. I mean, Amazing 163 had a couple of minor little historical points. Liz and Harry start getting close. Peter gets his apartment furnished. A typical stupid Marvel team up story, but still not as stupid as the adventures of the Man Killer. So it was a decent month.
I thought there was racism in the book of Spidey Super Stories. Come to think, there was actually a porn reference. Gotta love it. All right, that was December. Stay tuned for next month where we go to January. And we're in January. Welcome. No, just kidding. All right, coming down.
Wow, what a great Christmas that was, boys and girls.
Hold on a second. Let me pull up the month that we're doing this.
By the way, the guy who you thought was being called Cracker, as JR pointed out, was Luis from Electric Company. Luis Avalos was in fact Cuban. I had said I could
there
remember
you
if he
go.
was Puerto Rican or Cuban. You would definitely not call a Cuban a cracker.
Gotcha.
So once again, Brad always is worries about me offending people. I mean, and he just, it's like
I didn't go 10 minutes saying we. January 95, right? We start with Amazing.
Let's see, boy. This is actually, we're doing kind of January and February because we've got 2 stories. It's almost a shame that we don't have Zach Joyner here to kind of get us through the stupidity.
Is it a shame though? Is it?
No, I missed that.
Is it?
By the way, be on the lookout. Be shopping this weekend for our big show on Tuesday, or is it Monday? I think it's Monday, 23rd, right?
23rd, yeah.
Spider Christmas gifts, Crawl Space Gift Exchange coming on Monday. That'll be a fun one. I've got a good one for Zach this year. Oh, do I ever. Look for that. Okay, you ready? You ready, guys? Leading with Amazing.
As ready as we'll ever be.
Coming down in 3, 2. Hey, Crawl Bakers.
Spakers?
Crawl Spakers.
Hey, Crawl Spacker Speakle.
I've never done that.
I was about to say, I thought he said Crawl Spankers, and that's
Crawl Spankers.
Take 2. We just got done behind the green. I guess that's what he's doing behind the green door.
Hulk Spank, not Hulk Spank. Smash.
Oh my God. You did not just yell out Hulk Spank.
I did.
WTF is wrong with you?
Man, we're talking about cancel culture, and what is it? YouTube? What's this new regulation, the Copham Reg or whatever, that all the YouTubers are frightened about? So Brad's going to get us all arrested now.
Oh my gosh! Okay, coming take 2 because I misspoke. Coming down 3, 2. Hey, Crawl Spacers! Welcome to a new year, January 2020. Let's start it off with Spider history. Welcome to the new year, JR.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
There you go.
I'm sure this will be just as miserable and deadly as the previous years.
Well, all right. Start it strong. All right, George, can you bring some optimism, please?
I'm still alive.
All right, they're still alive.
And at my age, I was about to say that's always a given. So,
what January are we talking about? We're going back to January 1995, in the middle of the Clone Saga. We're going to Amazing Spider-Man number 397, written by J.M. DeMatteis and art by Mark Bagley. We've got Stunner. Is this her first appearance?
I believe it is.
There you go. Web of Death, number 1 of 4. The last Spidey Doc Ock saga of all time begins here. Little did we know back in 1995 how that was.
But the sad part of it is this time it really was meant to be true.
Oh, really?
We're going to do something a little bit differently here, boys and girls. What had happened? Obviously, this is the Clone Saga. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons in the past I've always avoided doing Clone Saga related stories, besides the fact that they're just they're horrible and it's like a nightmare that we'd like to avoid, is just that the prolonged nature of each of the stories and the way they stretched out or whatever, it's kind of hard to actually do one in Spider history. But after we did Kraven's Last Hunt a few months ago, I kind of thought, well, as we get along, I mean, we've been doing Spider history for more than 10 years now.
Wow.
And if you're still with us, God help you. And you know, I mean, not that we're not running out of months or running out of material, but you know, as I was thinking about it, it's really hard to do. You can't do self-contained stories in a month because they last for months. So I'm thinking that on some of these, like I did with Kraven's Last Hunt, instead of just maybe doing the issue for the month, doing a story that happened either start or began or end that month or whatever, and just do the entire story. So what we have here is there's 2 stories here, Web of Life and Web of Death.
Okay.
And they occurred over all 4 Spider titles in 2 consecutive months. So what I thought we would do here is we would start with, I think actually, which one happened first?
Web of Death did. Well, I could be wrong. Sorry.
I'm not sure, but we'll start with Web of Death because that's a Spider-Man story.
I'm looking at the previous issue. Back from the Edge was the previous issue of Amazing. So the Web of Death must be preceding Web of Life.
Okay. So anyway, this is a fabulous flip book. Okay.
Let me see what the other side. I see the one with Stunner on it. What's the other side look like?
Well, there we go. See, it's there we go.
Oh, it's got Lizard and Billy and
because it's you know pre-dessert menu Billy.
No.
So anyway,
man.
Anyway, we're in a Clone Saga story here. Okay, so we start out with Kane.
Looking cool up on the side of a roof,
and he's thinking mysterious thoughts. Okay, he's there by himself. Okay, he's not talking to anybody in particular. Okay, in fact, nobody can hear him, but he's going to deliberately think mysterious things. His name is Kane. I know you, but you don't know me. You can't know me because I'm so mysterious. All right, and even though these are my own thoughts, I'll keep them dark and mysterious so nobody figures the plot out yet. Okay. I mean, and so it's basically, I am Kane. Okay, good. Glad you know who you are. And I know you, Spider-Man, better than you know yourself. The secrets of your past, the tragedies of your future, the depths of your loneliness, the intensity of your pain. But you, my friend, can never know me. And that's exactly how I want it, at least for another few issues to keep the plot going.
But man, look at this Mark Bagley pretty art. Woo, this is pretty. This is pretty.
So anyway, so he's thinking all these mysterious thoughts. All right. And in a previous story, for example, the Vulture had infected Spider-Man with the virus, and now Spider-Man is dying. Okay. So as he's swinging through the city, and then he collapses. And then he's found by a shadowy figure with 4 metal arms. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, I'll go ahead and tell Brad it's Dr. Octopus. Because unlike when he spoiled wanted them to know the identity of the mysterious vagrant in issue number 156, who was Dr. Octopus, I'm just going to go ahead and say. Anyway, so Peter is having visions of being in a test tube and floating in amniotic fluid.
Yeah.
So this is kind of leading you to, the ultimate reveal. So is Peter a clone? Is he really a clone? Anyway, so Doc Ock finds him. And, this, boys and girls, is White Suit Doc Ock.
I like it. I like it.
White Suit Doc Ock is
he's trimmed cool. down. He's trimmed down, not
right. He's doing stunner, he's gotta stay in shape for his lady.
Yep.
So this is White Suit Doc Ock. All right. Now he could kill Spider-Man if he wants to, but he chooses not to because he wants to think some dark, mysterious thoughts too, because that's what we do in the Clone Saga. Okay. Now he's been keeping his eye on Spider-Man since Doc Ock escaped from the vault because Spider-Man has changed and Doc Ock doesn't like it because he always thought that Spider-Man was a decent person, that he reminded him of a lost part of himself. But now Spider-Man has been acting like any other bloodthirsty vigilante, which of course is all part of the deliberate disintegration of Peter Parker's character. Mm-hmm. He's acting like this crazy bloodthirsty because we want him to be bad. We want Peter bad, Ben good. So anyway, so Doc Ock, says, well, we haven't got very far in the plot yet, so I'm just going to toss you aside and watch for the, I'm going to peep on your life here. The scene switches to Doc Ock's latest girlfriend, and he's had a few. Doc Ock he gets around. Well, this time it's Stunner, but as we know, Stunner is not a real woman. Well, Stunner is a virtual reality projection of a rather sad, overweight woman by name of, I think, Angela Brancal or whatever. Mm-hmm. Because here's the thing, because as we kick off the adventures of Spider-Ben, virtual reality is going to become a significant part of several upcoming plots.
Yeah.
So, it's so anyway, so Stunner walks into a bar trying to pick a fight. Inner joke there. But since no one obliges, she just destroys the place because it's fun. Doc Ock comes to fetch her. Anyway, so they go to their lair. And Stunner is in the mood. Mm-hmm. All right. But Doc Ock is not, because he's bummed out the way Spider-Man's behaving.
Mm-hmm.
Because Spider-Man is a better man. But, but he's better than me. And he reminds me of some part of me I wish I was. And so anyway, so Stunner keeps going to, keeps trying to warm up to Doc Ock. But then all of a sudden Stunner's like, blah, 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 and she disappears. Okay, so what's going on there? Well, we don't know yet that she's a virtual reality projection. Anyway, so we go to Mary Jane. And Mary Jane is having deep thoughts because everybody has deep thoughts in the Clone Saga. All right? And Mary Jane is, she's worried about how Peter's acting and how she is so tired. I'm so tired. So anyway, so back to Spider-Man, who finally decides he's got to go home. Because he's been hiding, he's been running from all his problems, because he's been acting like a child ever since Robot Parents ended.
Yep.
He's been acting like an idiot, an utter and complete idiot. So anyway, so he's as he tries to go home, then more thoughts of him floating around in this amniotic fluid keep crowding into his head. So Stunner shows up. She's still spoiling for a fight. She beats the crap out of Spider-Man and calls him out on his whining. It's like, hey, what does she say here? Anyway, so they he's feeling sorry for himself or whatever. And Stunner says, I thought you were the guy with the incredible sense of humor. So how come all I'm hearing is whine, whine, whine? What are you anyway, Spider-Man or Spider-Infant? So... But so anyway, so she beats him up, and so Doc Ock shows up and says, "No, this is wrong. There's no way you should have been able to take him." And he unmasks him and sees the face of Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Bum, bum, bum. And the in fact, there it is. Doc Ock looking straight at the face of Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm.
The reason for the fantastic flip book. And I don't care what condition it's in because it's a Clone Saga story. All right. Actually, it's a print story.
Oh, really?
So,
yeah.
So who gives a shit? Right? I buy my comic books to look at the pretty pictures. I don't want to read. You know, if I want to read, I'll go find a real book. You know, gee whiz.
So what do we got to go to now? We got to go
to Spectacular Spider-Man, which is Web of Death Part 2. This is actually pretty cool because this is Mary Jane. I
can full screen this one for you. There you go.
All righty.
There you go. She's preggers.
Sorry. Spoiled it.
30 some.
You didn't even say spoilers.
Sorry.
Oh,
my bad.
Anyway, so this is another fantastic flip book. All right.
Yeah.
See what I did there. Anyway, so Mary Jane's on the cover. All right. Doc Ock is playing with chemicals when we're starting out the story, thinking I must be crazy. You know, I should be happy because Spider-Man is dying, but yet here I am feverishly trying to cure him of the poison. And so far, he's unsuccessful. And for an unspecified reason, he tries to call Aunt May. But he reaches Anna Watson, who tells him that May has had a stroke. So Doc decides to send flowers because he's just that kind of guy.
Yeah.
All right. Now, and to be honest, I have always... Now, before I get into some other things, here's the thing. Here's the first page, and Doc Ock is working on the chemicals. Okay. Yeah. Now, see... When we last left Doc Ock, he looked cool. He looked like this. He was wearing a white suit and everything. Yeah. All right. So now we go to this story, and he's wearing a brown suit. Well, you say, hey, JR, he just must have changed clothes, right? Well, then we go to part 3, and guess what? He's back in the white suit. Yeah. So here's one of the things that just kind of ticked me off is like, don't you guys talk? Can't you at least put him in the same damn suit the entire story? I mean, it's actually pretty jarring to go from Bagley to and who is this? Is this Bill?
Well, no, this is. And you know, George and JR too, to an extent, has praised Sal Buscema to the high heavens. However, when he just did breakdowns and Bill Sienkiewicz did the finishes, not a good pairing.
No.
Not a good pairing at all. It looks awful.
No.
Awful.
Well, I mean, you know, and that's not saying anything about, you know, Sienkiewicz.
Because he's a great artist. But
Sienkiewicz is a good artist. It's just a lot of times a couple of people just not going to mix. And I think this is why Byrne was so adamant about using the same inker for decades and decades.
Yeah.
Terry Austin.
This is not peanut butter and chocolate. This is peanut butter and fish.
Mm. Well, and again, it's like you can't like sit in a room and say, okay, Doc Ock is going to wear a white suit, you know, during the whole thing. And but it is the styles are just jarring. You go from part 1 to part 2, and you know, you go from Bagley to I don't know, you go from Bagley to this. You know, it's not my cup of tea. But anyway,
me neither.
So Doc Ock's trying, you know, like I said, he's trying to cure Spider-Man. But one thing I always have liked the fact that Doc Ock has a soft spot for Aunt May. Not it kind of got off the rails during the Conway years when they were getting married and she inherited an island. But I've always kind of liked the fact that Doc Ock likes Aunt May, and I've always. And actually, you know, I like the way Doc Ock is portrayed in this story because this goes back to what you were talking about earlier, or actually were you talking about last month, Brad?
You know what I like? Just real quick, you know what I really like, JR? I like it when writers remember that and they work it in organically rather than be true. Like, remember when JMS first brought it up when they were in Hollywood? And Aunt May and Otto saw one another, and she was like, "Otto, remember that?" I mean, that was perfect. That was wonderful.
Mm-hmm. It's, you know, and see, and Ock has, I mean, and this is, I mean, the whole theme through the story is Doc is trying to cure Spider-Man because he literally doesn't know what he's going to do without him. His whole life has been his life these last several years has been defined by his rivalry with Spider-Man. So with Spider-Man dying, you know, it's kind of like, oh my God, what am I going to do without him? And that's it's interesting. I mean, because when you think about it, that's what's happened to a lot of these guys is their whole existence is wrapped up in their relationship with Spider-Man.
Yeah,
and I like the way Doc's portrayed here because it's still I like the contrast between Doc and Norman. For example, I like the fact that Doc does have some honor, some decency, whereas Norman doesn't. Norman is just a pure sociopath, and I just kind of like that contrast. The thing is, though, they've taken, and I like that Doc Ock. I like it when Doc Ock knows that Spider-Man is Peter Parker. It's like there are certain villains I don't mind knowing. Norman, Doc Ock. I never liked that Venom knew because it was like, who was Eddie Brock? But we've done that. But anyway, so Doc, tells Stunner to go pick up some flowers for Aunt May. But who is watching this whole thing go on?
The Mask of Cain.
Cain. And he starts out. See, remember in part one, he starts out, I am Cain. Okay. Part 2, I am Cain. Okay. It's like he's really having a hard time remembering who he is, obviously. So I am Cain. And I will not allow the likes of Otto Octavius to interfere with my plans for Spider-Man. All right. Okay, more deep, dark thoughts from Cain. So anyway, obviously Aunt May is in the hospital, and she's had a stroke, as we turned in. Mary Jane is visiting her, and she's telling May that she learned something today, something that fills her with joy and terror. Not terror. Anyway, so Spider-Man's about to go into cardiac arrest. So Doc injects him with this untested compound, which makes Spider-Man bust through the restraints that's been keeping him down on the table. He goes completely bonkers. And all the while, he's having visions of him crawling out of goo. All right. On instinct, he lashes out at Stunner. He jumps through the window, bounds from building to building until he runs out of adrenaline and collapses. While during this whole time, Cain is watching and brooding. Okay.
And boring.
Brooding and boring.
So Doc rescues Peter and remembers unmasking him way back in Amazing Spider-Man number 12. And it's like, what? And where is it here? I'm trying to think, where does it happen? Because Doc wonders why he didn't believe it. I'm trying to think if it's addressed in this issue or not. But when he unmasked Peter, he's wondering, why didn't I believe it back in Amazing Spider-Man number 12 when it happened? It's so damned obvious. So anyway, so so Spider-Man wakes up in full costume alone, realizes his fever's gone. He thinks that Doc has cured him. So he goes back home. Dark and moody Spider-Man is gone. So he goes home, and after changing into Peter Parker, Mary Jane walks in. But before Mary Jane walks in, Mary Jane is walking from the hospital. She's walking from the hospital. And guess who's watching?
I am Cain.
Cain is watching. This guy is a peeper. And it's like, how does he keep showing? Nobody sees him.
He's not Peter Parker. He's Peter Peeper. Come on, you guys. Peter Peeper.
So anyway, so Mary Jane walks in, and they start acting like a soap opera couple.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I have to check who wrote this.
DeMatteis.
Tom DeFalco.
Oh, okay.
Who's usually better than this, but is there any way we can excuse the words spoken in hasty anger without thought or mercy? Isn't there any possibility of forgiveness or any chance of rebuilding our love? I've had a few arguments with my wife and have made up a few times. I don't recall ever thinking quite like this, I just really don't. But anyway, so I guess they decide to make up.
Yeah, hold it up there. That's got a big old kiss.
Yeah, it's a kiss. I don't want to quite spoil the reveal on the next page because guess who is watching?
Dr. Octopus.
Doc Ock. Now, Doc Ock. So,
Man, everybody's peeking on the Parkers, man.
So Kane was peeping. Now it's like they don't run into each other.
Nope.
You know, like the Wile E. Coyote and the sheepdog. You know, remember the old Hanna-Barbera or the old cartoons? Yeah. Morning Ralph, morning Sam. So it's like Kane's, it's like Kane standing there peeping, and Doc Ock comes and says, "This is okay. I'm relieving you now." And Kane says, "Okay, see you tomorrow, Doc." And so Doc starts to peep. Anyway, so it's pretty clear what's on Peter and Mary Jane's mind. They rush into each other's arms, and I won't read. Well, anyway, there's more. Let's see. The journey has been hard and costly. We have each stared into our own abyss, but the worst is finally over. Tonight, we'll dance into the wee hours. You sure you're taking him to his exam in the morning? And can you tone the volume down a little? Hang on, boys and girls.
Hold on. Let's watch JR text his wife. Will it be the same dialogue that Peter talks to Mary Jane in? I suspect not. I will read you the caption, what it says when Peter and Mary Jane just get up out of bed. The food may not rank highly as a gourmet feast. The same can easily be said for a libation of choice. But the lights are soft and low, and the music is Sinatra at his moody best. The journey has been hard and costly. We each have stared into our own abyss, but the worst is finally over. Tonight, we'll dance into the hours, luxuriating in wonder of our love. That's exactly what JR just texted his missus. Tonight, we'll renew our love, strengthen the ties which bind us so closely, and maybe, just maybe,
I'm so uncomfortable with all of this.
We'll find a way to live happily ever after. Yeah.
Honestly, this is why some people probably hated the Spider marriage, because the way
I don't have a problem with the writing. I have a problem with Brad narrating it like a weird.
So I don't have the gig with the book on tape.
That's what gives you the creeps, huh?
You have cringe on tape.
Because Mary Jane and Peter did talk to each other in a way that married couples, people don't talk to each other like this. They don't think like this. And it's like, it just makes me wonder. Well, I don't know. I don't know if DeFalco was married, but he never had any kids. But anyway, I don't know. This is what drove me crazy about the marriage. And I like the marriage. But like I said, people do not talk this way to each other.
But she's got some news. What news does she have?
Well, first of all, Doc realizes that his antidote didn't cure Peter. It's only made him better for a few hours. Yeah. Peter also realizes the virus is coming back, but just before he decides to tell Mary Jane, she has something to tell him. Yes, boys and girls, we're going to have a baby.
Maury Povich came out. You are the father.
And that's so fast because they just got done doing it. I mean, it's like wicked fast.
Yeah.
Now, here, when I go to the letters page, Spectacular Spider Mail.
Yeah.
Literally, I mean, we just saw Mary Jane just found out firsthand. Spectacular
and the thing
Spider
is, people
Mail.
are starting to figure out. I didn't figure out where this was going. I honestly did not believe that Marvel was going to make Peter Parker the clone and Ben the real one. I was naive. But people are already starting to figure it out. Okay. And this one letter writer is saying, okay, he's complaining about the changes in comics, and he says, I realize times are changing. You want to keep on top. But the last thing I'd like to see is Spidey being replaced by a clone, although it's probably not likely. And then, of course, the editor's answer is, well, I think you'll like the changes you'll be seeing over the course of the next 7 months. Yeah. Everyone sure did, didn't they?
Nope.
Anyway. So that was the end of part 2.
All right.
Part 3 of Web of Death. Oh, by the way, this is not a Fantastic Flip book.
Oh,
so I won't be flipping. It's not a Fantastic Flip book. All right. So anyway, now.
What issue is this? Is this Adjective List 54?
No, this is Amazing 398.
Right. 398. Okay.
Yes.
So we're in February 95 now. Okay.
And now Doc Ock is back to peeping on Mary Jane and Peter Bagley.
By the way, I bought that box of, hold that ad up with Cookie Crisp. I bought a box of Cookie Crisp so I could have those Spider-Man cards in it. I remember buying that.
Cookie Crisp was a good cereal.
Yeah, I
I always like Cookie Crisp.
It was a good stuff.
They still make it? I think they do.
I don't know.
So what happens? Mary Jane tells Doc is peeping on Peter and Mary Jane. Mary Jane tells Peter, and then Peter just remembers, hey, you know what? This reminds me of the Spider-Man musical. So I'm going to bounce off the walls, like that one song in the musical, Bounding Off the Walls. But then he realizes, he's thinking, oh, F, I'm going to die. But he decides to keep that from Mary Jane, suggests to get cleaned up and go see Aunt May in the hospital. But Mary Jane looks out the window and thinks, let's see here. I know that she's thinking, Peter has been laying 1 million eggs of cancer in me.
Dark.
Yeah.
Good
God.
God.
I have to claim that came from Kari Andrews and Spider-Man Reign. But Mary Jane is thinking, I can't help wondering about our child when that irradiated spider bit Peter and gave him his incredible powers. It somehow mutated his metabolism. It doesn't seem to have harmed him in any way, but what about my baby? Mary Jane, what about you with 1 million eggs of cancer inside you? So
look at George's face. He's just disgusted at JR right now. Gross.
Well, no, I think he's just generally disgusted with the direction of Spider-Man comics.
Yeah, this was a horrible period. This was the shit that made me stop reading.
Yeah,
for a while. It did. I mean, stuff was just terrible.
So Peter and Mary Jane go to the hospital, and so Peter is talking to Aunt May as she's laying in her coma. The thing is, though, is this Aunt May, or is this the genetically engineered actress?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Okay. So,
by the way,
anyway,
just in from YouTube, they still make Cookie Crisp just without the cartoon dog and the cop. I remember.
When it first came out, it was like a wizard.
Yeah, it was a wizard. And I bought. This is how successful the ads were for Cookie Crisp. Back in the mid-'80s, there was an ad for, let me see if I can find it.
I think it started off with like a wizard, and then it went to like some kind of like crook who was trying to steal the Cookie Crisp.
It did. Yeah. And here it is. Let me see. Okay. Let me pull it up. So this ad right here got me to buy Cookie Crisp. There's your wizard with the cookies on the hat.
Mm-hmm.
And I could not find ASM 252 anywhere. However, in my Marvel comic, the Hulk is holding it. And it says if you buy, how many boxes you got to buy? All you have to do is collect proof of purchase seals, then send them in. How many do you need? It doesn't say. But anyway, I ate a bunch of this thinking I would get 252 because it's right there. And months go by, and guess what issue I get? I get 259 of Amazing. I did not get 252, so I was kind of disappointed. So that's my little Cookie Crisp ad story. And these are the cards that...
Did you sue?
I did not. These are the cards that you got by getting Cookie Crisp that JR was just holding up.
Yeah, I liked about Cookie Crisp was that it soaked up the milk really nice, and but it still had a texture to it, and it was it was amazing. And then it would fall apart in your mouth. Oh
yeah.
Whoa, it was like the pulled pork of cereals.
That's here's the pulled pork. If that's not a damn quote, I don't know what it is. There's the
kind of like the bacon. Stegron is the bacon of Spider-Man, because bacon makes everything better. So,
okay,
JR's not wrong.
Look at this, George. There's a YouTube video where they combine Cookie Crisp with Cocoa Puffs. 5,000 calories. Would you eat that bowl of cereal, JR?
Wait, what?
Cookie Crisp and Cocoa Puffs. 5,000 calories.
Yeah, I'd eat
sure
that.
If I could, if I didn't have to go anywhere, and when I went into my sugar coma.
Whoa!
So
someone just poured a bowl of cookie and Chips Ahoy into a bowl.
Yeah,
1,200. No, I wouldn't eat that. That's crazy.
203, But oh my
okay,
God.
first of all,
Yeah.
these bowls they're like mixing bowls.
Yeah, they're mixing.
This is ridiculous. I mean, I would eat a mixture of Cookie Crisp and Cocoa Puffs in a reasonable bowl. That sounds delicious, actually.
Yeah.
But I mean, no, like I'm not going to pour like 2 boxes of cereal into the same bowl and eat that. That's crazy.
Well, this guy did it. This
well, God bless his kidneys.
Well, here you go. That's a giant bowl of Cookie Crisp. There, he's just there. Go crazy, sir.
I mean, okay, first of all, you're doing this, and the milk is going to go everywhere when you try to pour it onto here.
Let's see if it does indeed. Let's. By the way, the audio listeners can't see this. You need to just watch the YouTube. Oh, he did. There's the milk. Do we not see how he pours the milk on it? Okay, here we go. Let's take a look.
Okay, so he doesn't try to get. Oh, see, yeah, it's splashing everywhere. Way to go, genius. Fail. Poor JR is like, what the hell is this?
JR just got
JR's like, I gotta take my boy to the ACT tomorrow, and
here, let's fast forward to the end. Oh, look at this! Look at this. 6 minutes in. 6 minutes in.
Oh yeah, you're gonna want that.
Oh my gosh,
you're gonna want that wet. Yeah.
Oh, good. 23 minutes in.
At some point,
look at this kid.
At some point, you pass out from sugar shock. You'd have to.
Look at all that sugar he's in. Oh,
wow.
God. Oh, my heavens. Oh, 25 minutes of that.
Don't worry, Brad will edit all of this out later. And by edit, I mean he won't. Yeah, if you're listening to audio, I'm sorry.
I'm very sorry. Okay.
No, he's not.
I'm not. Okay, let's go ahead. Back to Web of Death, which that guy probably will have after eating that much.
I was about to say, speaking of making oneself sick, Peter and Mary Jane go out for a fancy dinner, and Peter starts getting sick. And he, drops his wine glass, and this gentleman comes over and offers his assistance. And of course, we know that this character who we've never seen before just appearing and actually having lines of dialogue means that he's not an insignificant character. So this obviously is, as we learn later, Jacob Raven, the detective from Utah who thinks that Peter Parker killed his partner, even though Peter Parker could probably be proven to be whatever. That was another stupid story, the whole trial of Peter Parker thing. But anyway, we'll get to that later. So anyway, as Peter's kind of recovering, he looks out the window, and who does he see? He sees Doc Ock peeping. All right. So he goes and he and Doc Ock have a brief little confrontation or whatever. And Doc Ock tells him that you're still sick. And whoops. Okay. Doc's back in his white suit. Okay. Meanwhile, Stunner is out in Central Park tearing things up just to get her jollies when she hears a voice that says, "Stay away from Octopus." She looks around and goes, "Who is that? Who is it?" Kane.
I am Kane.
Oh my God. Anyway, she says, "Who's there?" The captions go, "Maybe nobody. Maybe the wind. Maybe Kane."
Maybe it's Cookie Crisp.
So back to the lab where Spidey and Doc Ock are working on the formula again. Peter ingests this latest brew and collapses. Then he feels his spirit leaving his body.
By the way, doesn't that brew look like Mountain Dew with Cookie Crisp in it?
Yes, it does.
Oh my God, you're going to trigger our chat.
Can you can you hold up the picture, JR? Mountain Dew with Cookie Crisp in it. There you go.
And Peter looks like Reed Richards in this.
Oh, he does, doesn't he?
So anyway, he drinks it, and collapses. But then I think he's cured. Well, he thinks he's dying. So he's going up to heaven. He sees a bright light. He sees Jesus. He starts singing Rock of Ages. He sees Nick Katzenberg. Which is, of course, that's the first person that he wants to see as he's going to heaven is Nick Katzenberg. See, Nick tells him that they all just hang around until they go to one place or the other. And then he hears someone calling, and he goes to the voice. Is that me in the hospital? And so Peter is there in the spirit form, and so is Aunt May now. So Aunt May is in spirit form talking to Peter, who is in spirit form.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though Aunt May is
an actress.
Yeah, not genetically engineered.
Not actually dead.
Yeah. The actress is even doing the role in her own death.
That was a pretty fat paycheck. You continue to part in the afterlife.
The contract says even in death you have to perform this.
That's method acting.
So so Aunt May tells him that he has to go on a journey that she can't go on with him.
Oh my gosh, it's like Kung Fu.
And she tells him, remember what Captain Kirk said at the end of Star Trek 6? Go to the second star on the right and straight on till morning. So Peter goes up into the light.
White light.
To be continued.
All right. So that takes us
to part 4.
All right.
I may not make it to Web of Life. I mean, just pull.
Yeah. I agree. Let's kill it after this one. Yeah. Okay. So this is Spec 221 and One Shall Die. Web of Death 404. Written by DeFalco and pencils by Buscema and inker Sienkiewicz.
All right. So anyway, we're going to pull the plug here. We're not going to go to Web of Life. Maybe we'll do that some other time. Yeah. Well, maybe actually, you know what? February, when we do February.
Well, there you go. I'm fine with that. Okay.
What's kind of like I said, it's I'm thinking kind of maybe evolving into that where we do stories instead of just a particular month. But anyway, so last we saw Peter go into the light. He's grabbed by an outstretched hand, and it's Uncle Ben. And Peter's biological parents are there to meet him as well. See, that wasn't us down there on Earth and those stupid robots,
dumb robots.
And Ben says, we wish we could have warned you about those fakes, but that's in the past. No, doppelgangers or imposters here. And then Peter goes, I'll bet there aren't any clones either. And Ben's, and no, he really says that. He says, I'll bet there aren't any clones here either.
There you go.
Ben says, well, that's something you don't have to worry about anymore. So, there again, it's another telegraphing where this is going to go.
By the way, Michael Reed wants to know what happened to that Aunt May actress, and didn't she die somehow? She died on the bed, and
she died. She died in AS 400.
And then it was revealed by Byrne that that was an actress, and the real Aunt May was being held hostage by Norman.
That's right.
At the end of the Clone Saga.
Well, at the end of
the Revelations.
Yeah. Yeah. No, not at the end of Revelations. It was the end of the. It was when they rebooted Spider-Man for the first time. Gathering of Five and final chapter. Okay,
and Michael Reed wants to know: did Norman kill the actress, or did she die for natural causes? I don't remember.
It looked he probably killed her, but it looked like she died of natural causes.
Yeah.
So. Anyway, so Peter starts talking to his mom, and then Peter starts, writhing around because back on Earth, Doc Ock is shocking him because his heart had stopped.
Yeah.
So Peter keeps plummeting to Earth, whining that it's not fair that he's earned his rest, and Harry Osborn of all people reaches out to him because Harry's dead. He's really dead. I mean, he's dead. Okay, we're not going to see him come back to life later or anything because he's not dead anyway. So
that's because he's too busy being Kindred.
Yeah. So Harry grabs him and says, "I'll put a stop to your misery." And Peter lets go, realizing that even death is no refuge, and he has to go back to Earth. Why? Because he wants to feel the sensation of Doc Ock kissing him.
Yes, I forgot the little mouth-to-mouth between Doc and Peter. Yep.
So
breathe, Parker.
So he does revive Spider-Man, and so Stunner decides to plant her lips on Doc Ock.
Yeah.
So anyway, what happens is Doc tells Stunner to go call the cops to arrest him. All right, because as he tells Spider, Well, anyway, we'll get to that. But anyway, a Stunner goes to talk to the police or to call the police. Who's watching?
Kane. I Am Kane is watching.
So anyway, so basically Doc says that I'm having myself arrested so that you can relax and enjoy your wife. Enjoy that too. You can enjoy your life for a while, but when he breaks out of jail again, he knows that Spider-Man will be there waiting for him. Mm-hmm. So he didn't, like he said, I didn't heal you to become your bosom buddy. I healed you so that we can kick each other's ass again and again and again. Yeah. All right. So Peter goes back home, and Mary Jane he's bringing home a crib set.
Yeah.
So they're going to, and meanwhile, and here's a significant event which happens is as Doc Ock is being arrested, Kane breaks into the paddy wagon and snaps Doc Ock's neck.
Yeah.
And kills Doc Ock.
Okay, let's see that real quick. There we go.
You must die.
Yep.
And the last panel is Stunner crying over Doc Ock's body.
That's pretty significant. I mean, he's dead.
Doc Ock really is dead.
I mean, for a little bit. He doesn't come back until when?
Well, he comes back after the Clone Saga, and he's revived by mystical ninjas.
Okay.
Because DeFalco apparently realized that it was stupid to kill Doc Ock. And the only reason, and Marvel admitted this, they wanted to make Kane look bad.
Yeah, we bring this up. We have in the past. We've brought this up a lot of times when we talk about some of the lower points of the Clone Saga and about. Yeah. We pointed it out. I think we talked about this briefly back when. Remember when they did the whole Secret World or Secret Wars Battle World crap?
Yeah.
And Spider-Man was in his own thing. What was that? What was that?
Renew Your Vows.
No. What was the bad guy? The one that beat up all the superheroes.
Gauntlet.
No. But I know who you're talking about.
Did it start with an R? It was some
Revenger. No,
it was some throwaway slot character that no one cared about. But the whole thing was like he had beaten everybody. He took all the heroes out. He was just that bad. We brought up, talked about this specifically about how stupid it was and about how stupid it was for Slott to do it. At the time. I can't remember that guy's name for the life of me because it wasn't that impactful and no one
Regent
cared.
Says Venkman. Regent.
There you go. Thank you, Venkman.
Yeah,
that was totally forgot about that.
So spare. So
bad. Borvac has a question, which I think he's overthinking it. So the real Aunt May's spirit was in the hospital with the actress Aunt May's body. Or maybe it was the actress's spirit, and she was just the dedicated. You're overthinking it, Borvac.
Borvac, you have to look at it this way. At the time that they wrote the story, Aunt May was dead, and that was her ghost.
Yep.
Later on, they brought Aunt May back, and probably didn't even care about this story.
They don't.
Because they were thinking, you know what? It was the Clone Saga, and no one's going to care. Because so many people, I say that. I say so many people stop reading it. I was one of them at the time that did stop reading it. Yet they've always said that it sold very well. It just didn't know where to end.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if people liked it, it would have stuck.
Michael Reed says, I still think they should have been Ock somehow faked his death and have him be the mastermind of the Clone Saga. JR, what do you think of that? You like that or Norman?
Of course.
He likes Norman. Yep.
Is the Pope Catholic?
I know it. Yep.
But Doc Ock couldn't have been the mastermind which is funny because in the Ultimate Universe, Doc Ock is the mastermind behind the Clone Saga.
Yeah.
No, I mean when you think about it, and I remember actually writing an article about this. When you think about it, whoever was doing this the whole time had to know that Peter Parker was Spider-Man the whole time, and that wasn't Doc Ock. Doc Ock didn't know. And of course, I mean, obviously, as we've already talked with, is it Aunt May or the genetically modified actress? Mm-hmm. They could have done anything. It wouldn't have mattered. But no, I'm glad they brought Norman back.
So here's a question.
And the thing is in it ties, by doing that, you tie a crappy story to an actual good character instead of letting it just be on the shoulders of Miles Warren, who is already a shitty character. Shitty story, shitty villain. Then it's just easy to file it away. Oops, but we don't have to talk about this again, and then just move the hell forward.
So January 95 and February 95 is what this consisted of. Was this a good 2 months, or is this a good story, JR?
No, not at all. I mean, and we'll get into we'll talk about Web of Death next month.
Yeah.
Which actually really will be next month before. Yeah. But no, I mean, here's the thing though. I mean, in a way we're taking this out of context because you really in a way have to kind of sit and read all these just to get how truly bad it all is. But I mean, just in these 4 issues, I mean, it's like you got to wonder where editorial was, because either Kane and Doc Ock are always peeping, and Kane is always, I am Kane. Kane. I'm thinking dark thoughts or whatever. And it's like, who writes this? I mean, can you get any more monotonous? Can you get any more redundant and repetitive?
Well, I mean, it's just, I think it's just a time period, because look how stupidly Venom's written at the same time.
Well, also
or around the same time.
I wouldn't want to be one of 4 writers writing one story, because you got DeMatteis and you got DeFalco, and who else was doing these 4-parters during the Clone Saga?
But see, here's the thing. That's why you have editors.
Yeah.
You know, to step in and say, but the thing is probably, and I've never been a comic book writer, artist, or editor, never had any desire to be or whatever, never had any talent to be, but probably so many things are going on at once.
Yeah.
They have to all be, and they have to be done by a certain time, and you got deadlines. Probably once something gets to a certain point, it just simply cannot be changed.
Yeah.
But you do kind of, you do, like I said, just by the fact that Doc Ock looks different and is wearing different clothes from part to part. It's like nobody can even get together and say, okay, Doc Ock is wearing a white suit, or Doc Ock, so that the issues look as similar as they can.
Well, I remember during the Whacker years, even we used to point out about how a lot of times they couldn't even get the coloring of Carly Cooper's hair from one panel to the next correctly.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I've always wondered, it's like, but and again, I mean, the thing is, if you read any, what was going on behind the scenes, I mean, it was chaos.
And it's changed in 25 years with editors, in my opinion, because the news just came out today that J.J. Abrams and his Son book has been delayed 11 weeks. Like they've put the ending of it. They've released issue 1, they've released issue 2, and don't you think the editor would have all 5 stories in it before they go to presses?
They've never done this. Remember what happened with Civil War, for example?
Yeah.
How Civil War, the delays in that main story wrecked the entire line.
Yeah.
I mean, the entire Marvel line had to be delayed because they couldn't, and it's like, why didn't you get like, half a dozen issues in the can before you start releasing it?
I don't get it.
That's not, but it's always been that way. It's this short-term mentality. Get things out as quickly as you can. Don't worry about the quality. Don't worry about the accuracy. Mm-hmm. Just get it out. And keep up with the other guy. What was DC? What were they? Were they competing with like 52? Was 52 going on at the time, or 52 wrapped or something?
Well, this is isn't in that time frame where we had like a good 10-year stretch where all it was unending events that were like 100+ issues each. I mean, just some of the stupidest decisions I've ever seen. I mean, I say that. I mean, I say that from a fan point of like someone who used to read from both of those 2 companies who was like, no, I'm done. In fact, the thing that stopped me buying so many comics in the first place, once I had gotten back into it, was the unending events, and I was like, no, I'm done. I'm not playing this game. I'm out. Yeah. I'm not doing this. Is stupid. This is ridiculous.
JR, have you read that J.J. Abrams Spider-Man book?
I read the first couple issues, but there is nothing remotely interesting about it. It's not interesting.
Awful.
It really isn't. I mean, it's like if you want to do the stories of Spider-Man having a kid, bring back Mayday.
It's been done.
It's been done.
Yeah, that's why this news when I saw it today, it was like, who cares? because like they did the whole, the classic J.J. Abrams mystery box crap that people are already tired of, and people are going to hate the next Star Wars because of it. But it's like they did a switcheroo. They did, like as soon as the issue came out, and then people were like, "WTF is this crap?"
Mary Jane's dead. Killed in the back. Issue 1. Yeah.
They're like, we don't want anything to do with this. And so, who does it matter? They could delay it next year. Is anyone going to care?
Yeah. Vinkman has a request.
Nobody is going to.
Vinkman says, since JR is starting to cover the whole story arcs in Spider history, I'd love to see him cover the drug trilogy. At least I want to hear JR read Norman's dialogue from the end of part 1. Yeah, I don't remember what the dialogue is of part 1. Oh, it was just in the ASM.
Norman with the crazy sweats.
Yeah, just super villains, a nice good old super villain tirade. You never know. It depends on what months we cover. But I've always, like I've said on Spider history, sometimes I avoid doing the classic Stan stuff because, one, because that era has been so. Everybody, I don't know. Everybody's familiar with all those stories. Everybody's seen them analyzed a zillion times over and over again. But you never know. I mean, sometimes we do like we did Craven's Last Hunt. You just never know. I mean, I don't know. Brad may fire me by before we get to that. Good. So
another question for the two of you. This is a low point, I think, of Spider-Man history. When do we see some promise? I have the answer in mind that I will answer after I hear your answers. But when's the next time you're like, oh, Spider-Man's getting better?
Well, I mean, we haven't hit bottom yet.
Yeah,
we haven't hit bottom yet, but
actually, the post-Clone Saga era when Mackie was writing Peter Parker and DeMatteis was writing Spectacular.
The adjectiveless book was really good,
and DeFalco was writing Amazing.
John Reed Jr. Yeah,
I really thought. That was a good, and of course, Sensational was what DeZago, and that was always kind of a
it was a little kid book, I thought,
but no, I mean with those I thought it was a good period, and I really enjoyed the stories. I mean, of course, part of it was because Norman was a part of it, but Mackie wrote Norman, and Mackie wrote Norman very well. DeMatteis wrote Norman very well, and they were both. And Mackie, I mean, Mackie's had his stretches, but I thought Mackie did a pretty decent job on that run.
And you're talking about rock bottom. This is 95. I'd say 96, 97 is rock bottom. And what got me through as a Spider-Man fan during the Clone Saga was The Untold Tales of Spider-Man. That was the book I read first when I got my stack.
Well, the thing is, it's funny when you mention rock bottom. So we've had more than one. I mean, we obviously had the Clone Saga and that immediate, and then we had the reboot. The first 18 months of the Byrne Mackie reboot.
Yeah, that was rough.
That was another low spot.
Yeah.
And then of course we had Brand New Day. It's hard to pick. It's hard to pick one.
Michael Reed says ASM 400 was the last real good issue of Spider-Man before the Clone Saga went nuts. ASM 400 was good. That's when we thought it really was Aunt May dying. Mm-hmm. And I liked that book a lot. I was like, she knew all this time. I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I agree on that. All right. Any final thoughts, fellas? JR, what you got the final thoughts?
You asked both of us. You didn't even go to me.
Oh, I apologize. George, what was the last good point when Spider-Man got better out of the Clone Saga? When were you like, it's getting better?
When Jenkins started writing PPSM.
Yeah. That was my first inclination too.
It was a bad stretch, but as bad as that stretch was, it wasn't anything like being saddled with Dan Slott for 10 years.
Yes, I would agree.
As bad as things were, Slott was worse.
Yeah,
it's fun that I can. Well, it's interesting to me that I go back and I look retroactively, like I've been doing with the same prism towards Star Wars. Star Wars. And the mishandling of the current trilogy has made me go back and look at the prequels and think, you know what, these weren't so bad. Because that's one thing that the new trilogy has done is it has elevated the prequels by comparison because the prequels compared to it are better. I look at the same way. I look at the same way with the Slott years versus the Clone Saga. The Clone Saga was bad. It made me stop reading comics. It was a slap to the face. But the slot years from Brand New Day onward was worse. It was way more egregious. It was it was purposefully antagonistic. Where the Clone Saga, it wasn't done antagonistically. It wasn't. The Clone Saga was done from an idea. Hey, what about we explore this? And it just went too far, and they didn't know when to stop it.
Yeah.
With all the Brand New Day, the OMD stuff onward, it was purposefully done. So
the thing with the Clone Saga though is like you still have to sit and wonder what were they thinking. What I mean, had they been sniffing glue or something that they actually thought that would be a good idea? That's what I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't maybe and then they deliberately destroyed Peter Parker's character so that you would think that Ben was cool. And then they would, like I said, they killed off Doc Ock, and because they want to make Kane look cool. And maybe it wasn't done with the belligerence, for example, that the slot era and the Brand New Day era was done, where it was literally done to make the fans angry and a big FU to the fans. But it just, to me, the delusion that had to be going on at Marvel, I still can't figure it out. I mean, how do you get in such an echo chamber that you thought that was actually a good idea?
Venkman wants to know which is worse, Byrne Mackey reboot or Dan Slott's run?
Slott. Here's the thing: the Mackey reboot got some things wrong, and Mackey, and we've talked about this a lot before. Mackey was just on the book too long.
Yeah.
Mackey was a pitcher left out on the mound way too long by Ralph Macchio.
Yeah.
Or Bob Harris.
And Bob Harris, both of them.
Well, when he'd been on the book for a long time, and then they doubled his workload.
Dude, even when Mackey left, Mackey admitted he was on the book too long.
Yeah.
Remember he came to the Alvaro boards.
Yeah,
JR? Do you remember that?
I do.
And made a big old post and talked about all this stuff. And then I felt bad because you remember JR? Like I was pissed back in the day.
Oh yeah,
with a lot of the late Mackey stuff that Mackey was like, dude, this wasn't our idea to kill Mary Jane. We didn't want to do, And he was
whose idea was it?
Byrne didn't even want to do it.
Whose idea was it?
That was Harris.
Bob Harris.
Yeah, that was Bob Harris. So you had all this stuff. Mackey was just left on the book too long, and they made some missteps. The stuff under the Slott run was all done very purposefully. A lot of it antagonistically. A lot of it. I mean, like even Axel Alonso, when they did One More Day, admitted in the Wizard interview, he admitted as much as they were counting on people to get pissed off. That was part of their marketing, was they wanted people pissed off.
You remember that?
And then after 5 years, remember we noted that, and then at one point, Slaughter Wacker told us that never happened. I can't remember which one of them and I think it was on the boards. Either Slaughter Wacker at one point told us that no, that never happened, and we were like, dude, this was in print.
Yeah.
You had Axel Alonso saying we're counting on people to be pissed off over this.
Yeah.
And then when it dragged on, and suddenly it's 5 years and people are still bitching about One More Day, and then suddenly they were like, maybe we weren't thinking it would go on too long.
Now 10 years later.
10 years later. Yeah.
So, and I think normally years ago I would have said, the Byrne Mackey reboot was worse. But the thing is, the Byrne Mackey reboot came to an end after 18 months to 2 years.
Yeah.
Not 10.
I mean, here's the thing. They corrected the course. I mean, it became, it was like after 18 months, they brought in Paul Jenkins for
Paul Jenkins and JMS.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the amount of time it took to fix that is nothing in comparison to what Nick Spencer has had to focus on to fix all the crap that Slott did and done under the Slott years.
And
it was
Spencer's been doing a really good job, and he's going on his second year, and he's had to do a Slott cleanup.
Well, and another problem though with the Spencer run though, and it's not his fault, but all these damned events. Now we've got this 2099 event, and that whole thing with the Central Park thing. I mean, why did that go on so long? I mean, it just. I probably they told him to pad it out would be my guess.
Oh yeah, yeah. This is all
But yeah, I mean that's the thing. These events, I mean, are and of course I guess because people buy them, that's why they keep doing them. But really, they kill the momentum of a book. You know, they go on too long because it's like, and one, I guess this exposes my weaknesses as a reviewer because I mean, you guys are all able to say something clever and witty about every issue. I can't. It's like it's a when it's a 4 to 6 parts, there's no story in this issue. It's not going anywhere. It's not doing anything. Yeah. It's like it's hard to evaluate each issue. It's like, talk to me when the story's over. Yeah. But it's just, when we think about, when we talk about stories from the 70s and the 80s and things like that, I mean, they wrapped up. Yeah. And they didn't go on. I mean, it's, so I mean, that to me, that's what's killing the industry. Part of what's killing the industry. A whole lot of things are killing the industry.
Yeah. Well, because we're talking about Spencer's run. I'm excited and I look forward to the day when Spencer isn't still spending energy to fix what Slott broke as much. And we can, and I hope he's on the book long enough that we can finally get to that, to the part where his status quo was fully established. We're still trying to repair Slott crap, almost 2 years into what he's been doing. But at the same time, he's never going to be free, and no Marvel writer will be from the continual, just unending assault barrage of crossovers. What's that new one they announced today? The redacted one. That.
Oh yeah, that they were teasing a crossover where they didn't mention the damn thing that's happening in the book.
Yeah.
Why would you order that? There's no information.
One way to guarantee I won't buy anything is to have Tom Brevoort come out and pitch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a non-starter for me, period, from the get-go. That's a big no for me, dog. Yeah.
I'm out.
But and here's another thing. It's like, 2099. I mean, I was interested in the 2099 universe the first time around. Okay. But it had its moment, it had its run, and it was done. But it's like they keep going to, who cares anymore about 2099? Some individual characters that people like and stuff, but why do they keep trying to bring it back? It won't last. It won't last. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that is your January 2020 Spider history. We'll be back for Web of Life next in February. There you go. All right. Okay. Let me hit end broadcast.